All right, preparing. Sorry, babe. Nixie had logged me out, so I had to log back in. And then if you want to screen time request for YouTube. Okay, perfect. Not mean mom that has. Okay, awesome. And now I hear myself from my husband's phone. That's always weird. All right. Well, we are officially live streaming. I want to thank the interwebs for joining us this evening. I am Bethany Bachman, and we have Jeff Flores from Kern High, and we have Ian Journey, a fellow candidate for the Area 5 race for BCSD, and then we have a fellow BCSD parent and DAC parent, Cassandra Slane. So thank you, and I'm going to turn this over to Jeff. And I just want to graciously thank you, Jeff, for giving us your time this evening and helping us out.
Sure, my pleasure. Good evening, everyone that's joining us on YouTube and Zoom and your living room and Zoom room and bedroom, wherever. So we welcome you. Just a huge shout out to Bethany Bachman, Area 5 candidate, and Ian Journey, Area 5 candidate. And I commend you for putting your hat in the ring and putting your name on the ballot. That's not an easy feat to put yourself out among the voters and have you tested and tried and work the campaign and understand the issues. It's a lot of work. So I commend you both and good luck to you both. I'll start out with some introductions. If you guys want to do some self-introductions before we go to the debate and to the questions, why don't you start, Ian? Give us an intro, real quick intro, and why you're running.
Yeah, so my name's Ian Journey. I'm Area 5 candidate, and I'm born and raised in Bakersfield. I went to BCSD through elementary school, graduated Stockdale, and went on to Cal Poly, where I studied mechanical engineering and religious studies. I definitely always envisioned coming back to Bakersfield and bringing that education back to my community. And I've been involved in a lot of nonprofits and government agencies over the last 8 years since I moved back to Bakersfield. And between the Workforce Development Board, CASA of Kern, the Kern High School District, Energy Academy, and so when just talking with fellow parents, the opportunity and the idea came up to run for school board, and I thought it was a perfect opportunity. And I think, especially with COVID, I think we have an opportunity to grow out of the anguish and the struggles that COVID has brought. So I'm just really excited to lead our community and BCSD into this next chapter of modern education.
Great. Thank you, Ian. Bethany, a little bit about yourself and your background and a little intro of who you are and why you're running.
Hey everyone, I'm Bethany Bachman. I am a BCSD parent. I have been an engaged BCSD parent for over 10 years. It started with my oldest, Nixie, and my son is still in the district. And I decided to run because one of the things that BCSD definitely instills and cultivates with our parents is always being at the highest level of excellence. And I knew for me that was just throwing my hat in this race. Really serving our community, serving our parents, and serving all the children, not just Area 5, but BCSD as a cohesive unit. I just want to continue everything that we're already doing and lead us into the 21st century with a bang and just get it done. I have a plus ultra attitude as one of the things I'm known for. Always go beyond, go plus ultra, always take it to the next level. And that's why I decided to run.
Plus ultra, that is the logo of the Spanish flag. Good for you.
I am so okay, Jeff, that just breaks my heart because nobody gets that side of the reference. I know it kind of comes from pop culture, but it actually is steeped in history. So that's really cool.
So I'll share one little icebreaker story and then we'll get cracking on the questions. So commend you both once again. And I ran into Senator Lindsey Graham last year, and he asked me at the Doubletree Hotel, what do you do? And I said, I'm on the Kern High School District School Board. And he looked at me and he says, wow, he's all, if you could do school board and school politics, you can do anything. He's all, that's the toughest governance there is. So that's from a U.S. senator. So we got some good folks running. So, okay, so we'll go to the questions now, and each candidate will get 2 minutes apiece, and I'll keep time, and I'll just alternate back and forth in terms of order. So we'll go to our first question for Bethany. What actions have you taken to be part of the district and to get involved? For BCSD.
For BCSD, I started out as part of my elementary booster club, and then I graduated from just getting involved at my school site and then getting involved in other school sites, and then the creation of the FACE team and the FACE department at the district level opened up a bunch of doors. As far as district level involvement, I've since become on a part of the district advisory council. This is my second term serving as the chairperson for that board. I serve as the chairperson for the superintendent parent advisory committee. I've been part of the district culture, climate, and safety committee. I'm a PAL. I'm also a PAL ambassador, which is a little bit of a step above being a PAL. I'm part of my school site council. I'm like, had to like kind of run through the mental list there. So those are the steps that I've taken. I'm constantly engaged on my school site, and then also helping with my feeder schools, Curran, that Harris feeds into, and then collaborating with other schools within our cluster.
Great, thank you so much. Let me set the clock here. Okay, so Ian, I'll repeat it just for you one more time. What actions have you taken to be part of the district and to get involved?
So I was part of the chess club, 4th grade at Thorner. So it's a little joke there. Yeah, so I went to Thorner. I've been involved since childhood, really. I mean, I really, my passion is this district. But here recently, my children are in 2nd grade and kindergarten, and so obviously haven't had a whole lot of opportunity to get directly involved. But I think since my daughter has been enrolled in the district, I've both my wife and I have gone out of our way through, whether it's utilizing her bakery for fundraisers, for donating to FACE events. I've ran for school site council for 2 years, but never got elected until this year, so I'm very fortunate. And then through school sites council, I got nominated to be on DAC as well. For the record, I did vote for Bethany for chairperson, so I think she's. I mean, I'm new to it, but it seems like everyone just has nothing but respect for Bethany. So really excited to work with her, irregardless of the votes and the election. I think it's inevitable that Bethany and I are going to, keep in touch and work together to continue to improve the education system. Really, I mean, the most important thing I do in my district, I feel like, is I have lunch at least once a week with my kids, and that allows me to, see the teachers, the administration, just to see, the other kids that my children are hanging out with. So that's my favorite thing to do. That's been probably the hardest thing with COVID, is not being able to go down and have lunch with my kids. So definitely not as experienced as Bethany, but I definitely look forward to, once again, irregardless of the vote, look forward to follow in her footsteps and continue to be a leader as my kids get older and move through the district.
Great. Thank you, Ian. Moving on. So we'll start with you, Ian. Going towards more on the COVID theme. When we are allowed to return to our schools, what do you think about masks being optional? What are your thoughts on PPE, on safety protocol as we move through the tiers and get back to the pathway to normalcy?
Yeah, so I really, I'm going to reference back to a graphic that current superintendent of schools posted a couple days ago on Facebook, and it had to do with like what they referred to the Swiss cheese method. So I want to look at a holistic approach. What I do for a living is I'm a mechanical engineer who specializes in ventilation, and so I have a strong background in ventilation and in keeping our indoor environment safe. I think there's a lot of options that we have as a district, some economical, some not so economical, and I look forward to bringing that experience to the district and working with the O&M department. Through my normal day job, I work with the department and the district on a regular basis. And since COVID started, I've been forwarding the superintendent's office guidelines and documentation that's coming directly out of researchers in our industry. So I think I have a strong background, and it was specifically with your question. I mean, that's a really heavy question. I think, masks, for instance, I think for older children, I think there should be a cutoff. I can't imagine my kindergartner wearing a mask all day. So I think there should be certain logical and reasonable exceptions to PPE as it relates to children. But I think there's a lot of discussion that can be had, and we're a little too narrow-minded on the virtual learning and the Chromebooks and the Google Classroom, and I think we're missing opportunities to get creative. So yeah, I look forward to bringing my professional background to the conversation.
Okay. Thank you, Ian. Okay, Bethany, I'll restate it one more time for you. When we are allowed to return to our schools, will masks be optional? And what are your thoughts on protocol, COVID protocol safety as we move through the tiers and we start opening back and getting back on the pathway of normalcy, so to speak, for our population of students?
Well, I think working with everyone at the district level and then with our associations, we kind of already have a roadmap, so to speak, of what that would kind of look like. And I agree and follow along with that. And that's 3rd grade to 8th grade is masks are mandatory. And then 2nd grade and below would be a face shield with a drape that tucks into the shirt to catch any particulate, because most face shields that just cut off at the chin, particulate can come out. So that there would be a face shield with a drape. As far as PPE, gloves and fiberglass, or not fiberglass, plexiglass shields, I think that's on a as needed basis. I know a lot of our school offices have been already installed with plexiglass. And I just think it's for the comfort and the safety of everybody involved. I've had numerous conversations with my kids about wearing a mask, and they know the few times that they do leave the house, they know that they don't leave without having a mask on them, because even though we may not be getting out of the car, or something might happen, and just being prepared for that. With ventilation, some of our schools were built in the 30s and the 40s, and some of them just can't be retrofitted for newer ventilation systems.
That's not true, Bethany. That's just not factual. So I've worked on mostly every school in the district, and there's options. So, well, like I said, some economical. Not to interrupt you. Sorry.
Yes, okay. We'll let her finish, and then you can weigh in. Go ahead, Bethany.
Okay. I know that's something that would have to be discussed with the MOT department, and then have to be factored into the budget, obviously. But the single greatest deterrent is just a face covering. There's multiple studies out right now, and even the CDC has come out and said that if we could, get 99 or 98% of everyone to wear a face covering of some type, that we would drastically stem the flow of this virus.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So we didn't go over the rules of back and forth. Do you want to do this during the conversation part and move through the questions, or would you prefer that I allow you to go question back and forth within the question?
I think I'm okay if I say something that he wants to counter, or if he says something that I want to counter. Maybe we can have just 30 seconds to weigh in on that real quick, and then we can revisit it during the conversation if everyone's okay with that. Ian,
are you okay?
Yeah, I think, Bethany, when we were emailing back and forth, that's why I kind of felt more comfortable with a discussion, more than I'm not a fan. With the two of us, I think we're friendly enough to be respectful to one another.
Okay.
And
we'll do some back and forth, and if you guys want to weigh in during the questions. I just wanted to make sure you're both okay with it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so we will go to our next question. We'll start off with Ian. What will you do to help better outcomes? What will you do to help better outcomes academically for all kids at BCSD?
So, I mean, one of my focuses and passions, I mean, you definitely mentioned all kids, but one of my passions is early childhood education. I think that's probably going to be one of the largest outcomes and 20-year studies that we see post-COVID is the effect on of the younger generation. So I think one thing I do love about education is, especially K through 8, is that every year it's kind of like a blank slate that we get to try to try new things and really improve. I think that's rare in government, that you have an opportunity to make big improvements in 4 years, and I really believe that that's possible. One thing I want to see in our older kids, just a study that recently came out that I'm really into, that I think it solves a lot of problems and debates that are going on in society, is utilizing more social studies in lieu of English language arts. I think giving kids real world application of geography, history, climate, different sociology, I think utilizing that to improve reading, reading skills and reading scores. I was really excited to hear about that study. So that's one thing I think that would be kind of a low-hanging fruit, and especially with all the discussion right now of of ethnic studies and social studies, and that seems like a very hot topic. So I think we can do better there. And then also another kind of related to your question, but one of the biggest reasons I'm running is because I see the kids and the children that are being moved into the current high school district and into these apprenticeship programs that really aren't ready to utilize, like Jeff and we've talked about the new C-Tech program. And so we need, as a K through 8 district, we need to improve scores for everyone to move them into these amazing facilities that taxpayers are funding, and they need to be fully ready to utilize, like I said, these facilities. So career training is huge for me. And I think when you see something, when you see the applicability, when you that relates to a career or a job, I think kids are more prone to learn that material. So
Okay.
yeah.
Right, 2-minute mark. So thank you, Ian. Bethany, I'll repeat the question for you. Okay. What will you do to help better outcomes academically for all kids in BCSD?
Well, one of the things that I would definitely focus on is early childhood literacy. We have a very strong focus on our state pre-K and our TK and our kinder programs, universal access time, strong pushes on reading, because when kids get the concepts of reading down, a lot of other things fall into place. And a lot of state testing right now is, even math is a lot of reading. So getting those strong reading skills in the beginning of their education is really important. And then making sure that the preservation of our after-school academies continues. We have STEM academies at every single school site in our district in a variety of fields. If we have a garden at McKinley, we have robotics, we have engineering, we have theater, all of these things. And it's not just, singing and acting, it's the technical side of it too. It's stage construction and lighting and robotics. My daughter was in robotics after school. I know Cassandra can attest to her son is in Project Lead the Way, and just continuing those kind of programs, because helping the students that need help, but also fostering a love of education for the students that are going beyond as well. There's both sides. The kids that are falling behind get a lot of supports and everything, and sometimes our kids in GATE and honors are like, oh, we got them, or they got themselves, and really making sure that all kids have access to these programs.
Thank you for that treatment. Right on time. Okay. Moving on. We'll start with Bethany. What do you think is the biggest challenge Bakersfield City School District faces in the next 5 years?
The biggest challenge that I think that BCSD faces in the next 5 years is teacher shortage. We do not have enough young people or younger people or even older people that are going back to school to get a teaching degree to teach our students, or even if our homegrown students they go away to college and then they don't want to come back, or getting people to move here is hard. If they're studying in other locations around the country, getting people to move here and finding ways to entice people to become teachers here locally is a huge thing. And I think enticing people to move here to be teachers. We have a huge retirement quota right now. Teachers are retiring for various reasons, whether it's COVID or just age or, whatever. They're just choosing to retire. And we can build schools and have programs and curriculums and everything, but if we don't have teachers to teach them, we're going to fall short. And then you're going to start seeing classroom sizes get bigger and bigger because we're falling short on teachers.
Okay, thank you so much. That's very true. It's across the state. There, with all the retirements of the boomer generation, we will be all competing with one another to hire the next generation. Okay, Ian.
It happens. BCSD, we lose a lot of them to you guys.
Okay. I'll repeat the question for you, Ian. What do you think is the biggest challenge BCSD faces in the next 5 years?
So completely agree with Bethany. I have a lot of just family friends that are older that are in close to retirement, and they express that same concern about younger teachers. I do like to see the older teachers mentoring the younger teachers, and it seems like there's some really good programs within BCSD to help with that. But I think kind of bigger. I think COVID, the effects of COVID are going to for sure last within for the next 5 years. So that's kind of an obvious, but I always like to remind people that even before COVID, we were facing some pretty big challenges from Sacramento between I think CEQA and the issues with ag, and also Sacramento's anti-oil policies are really if they get their way, there's going to be some struggles here with budgets. And of course, we can't, if the budget's not there, we can't be hiring new teachers, or we can't be attracting, the best and the brightest. Because I think we do have incredible opportunities here. Kern County, we have such a diverse economy, the aerospace industry, renewable energy. We're leaders in so many aspects in the state and the country. So I think we're set up that we can attract better talent, and we can attract young, the best and brightest students out of with degrees in education and aspiring teachers. So my daughter, one of her teachers here last year, her first grade teacher, was a first year teacher, and she was probably one of the most incredible teachers I've ever met. So I don't think youth and experience, they're not directly related to performance. So I really admire the young up and coming teachers and look forward to working with them as a board member.
Great, right on time. Okay, thank you, Ian. All right, moving on to the next question, guys. We'll start off with Ian. When do you think we should go back to in-person instruction?
As soon as possible, without a doubt. I think the conversation needs to immediately shift from the health and safety risks of keeping our schools open to the conversation needs to be about the health and safety risks of our schools being kept closed. I just, the fact that we can go to Home Depot and Walmart and Bevmo and all these places, but our schools are closed, I think it kind of shows our priority in society and the way that we really look at school. So I think we need to get back. I know as a parent, me and my wife have two kids, like I said, 5 and 7. And this has brought forth some unintended consequences that I feel like as a parent, I feel like in DAC meetings and school site councils, I feel like I'm kind of a rarity to be talking out loud. I think a lot of people aren't, maybe they feel scared to talk about the struggles, but I'm very open about our struggles with virtual learning. So I'm a big proponent, like I said, with my background as a mechanical engineer who specializes in ventilation and plumbing systems, I'm 100% confident in our district and our MOT department to be able to bring our kids and staff and teachers back safely.
Great. Thank you, Ian. And just for the edification of those watching, in Ed Speak, we use a lot of acronyms. Will you explain what DAC means?
Bethany, District Advisory Council. I'll leave it to Bethany to.
Okay, just so people know out there.
And
Okay.
he is maintenance and transportation.
Oh, sorry, MOT. Yeah, so I use O&M, operations and maintenance, but Bethany corrected me. The technical term is MOT. I don't deal with transportation other than I design the bus barns and.
No, viewers, the
Yeah.
for MOT is that's what it means.
Yeah. So back to my, what we were talking about, MOT. I work with the MOT department on a daily basis when we're designing new schools and renovating older schools, and ventilation is always number one on our priority list when we're working on any school site.
Thank you. Okay, so Ian, we'll move on to the next question, and we'll start with you this time.
I think Bethany didn't answer the last question.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you for monitoring the debate monitor. Okay, let me repeat for you, Bethany. When do you think we should go back to in-person learning?
I believe that we should go back to in-person learning when it is feasible. I think the plan that we have right now for the phased in different phases of how we're going back is the right serving our most needy first. We are the largest K through 8 district state, and rushing that many students back to campus, I believe, would have disastrous effects that would ripple through our community. And I think, we've had 2 campuses open already, Compton and College Heights, and they are doing well. And as long as we can maintain that momentum of opening safely for those campuses, and then rolling out the next 7 to 8 campuses that are going to be rolled out as part of phase 1. And then next week, we will also start phase 2 with our foster and homeless youth. And then in December, we will have parts of our EL population. And then the conversation will shift to general ed. I know personally, my daughter is immunocompromised. So even the sheer thought of her stepping foot on campus right now worries me personally. And I know I'm not alone. I see a lot of things posted on social media of like, oh, we're opening up schools. And a lot of parents are like, do we have the option to stay virtual? And I think the mental health capacity for our students, I know personally, I can only speak personally for my children. The back and forth for my son would further deter him. I think he would either be best all virtual or all in person, and all in person is just not feasible right now. I think 2 days in a campus and 3 days not in a campus, or 2 days not in a campus, and then that in between day for teachers and MOT staff to clean and everything. I think that adds just another evil and weirdness to a schedule that could be standardized.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so kind of shifting gears a bit, Bethany, moving on to some issues now related to governance and boards. What do you believe are the most important characteristics of an effective board and of an effective school board member?
Oh, I think listening. We are elected positions, and I think when you lose sight of that, you really go down a rabbit hole that you don't want to. Listening to parents and staff and your associations. One of the faith ladies, Katanya, always says, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, so you need to listen twice as hard as then you talk. So I think really being open for listening, and then really deep conversation is one of the most important things about a school board member, and just kind of remembering that, you were put here by your constituents, and that's an important thing. just listening and genuinely listening. And then when questions are asked that you don't understand, admitting that you may not understand, that you'll loop back to them when you have time to like research an issue. I think, you know, not being afraid to admit that you may not know something is really important. And then just listening.
Great. Okay, thank you. Ian, I'll repeat it for you. What do you believe are the most important? What do you believe are the most important characteristics of an effective school board and of an effective school board member?
So school board in general, I really believe in a united front. I think the way a school board interacts with the media, with the parents, going back to transparency, I think, you know, there can be disagreements behind the scenes, but in terms of public interaction, you really have to show leadership through you know, coherence and being a united front. You know, for me personally, my number one, you know, when I think about why I'm running and the impact that I want to have on the school district, I think one, it goes to selecting and working with the next superintendent, whether that's Doc or, you know, I know he's having health issues. God bless him, and you know, I'm thinking of him a lot. I've been really impressed. On a side note, and Bethany can attest how he's been very interactive with all the school board member candidates, and I'm like, makes me feel special when he calls. But you know, so I think that's number one. Number two is maintaining fiscal responsibility and fiscal autonomy. And number three, I think it's just advocating for all children. At the end of the day, you know, we can't be controlled by outside organizations like Bethany and I, like some of our competitors. You know, I think to see how the campaigns have been run, you know, there are certain candidates that I think they would get in there if they got elected, and they would, you know, not bring the child's interest first. And but yeah, to answer, I think it really goes back to transparency. That's my number one thing.
Hey, thank you, Ian. Bethany, we have about 20 minutes left. So what do you want me to ask one more question, or do we at this time want to hand it over to Cassandra?
Perfect. Time flies when you're having fun.
Encore.
Okay. So more questions or Cassandra now?
We probably go with one more final question, and then wrap. And
okay. This will be our last question, and then we'll pivot to the conversation part with Cassandra. So Ian, we'll start with you first. An individual, and you kind of touched upon some of this in terms of the collectiveness of the board. An individual school board member has no authority. Only the board as a whole can make decisions for the district. What skills or traits will you contribute to effective operations of the board as a whole?
So I think my experience for the last 7 years, I have served on the Workforce Development Board for Kern, Inyo, and Mono counties. And what that board does is it works directly with the CAO's office of those counties, looking at workforce development and workforce training for both adults and youth, both in school and out of school. And so I have a lot of experience working directly with staff, with working with, in this particular case, employers training resource, you know, reaching out, asking questions. You know, I think utilizing, like Bethany said, I'll agree, you know, just at the end of the day, listening skills and critical thinking skills, and you know, taking other people's opinions into mind, and working together. Because at the end of the day, I think our role as the board is to delegate delegate to the superintendent those day-to-day administration duties, and you know, whether that's personal matters, district matters, discipline matters. That's not the role of the board. So I think if anything has shown me through this campaign and this election, it's the misconception that your average voter and your average taxpayer, the misconception that they have of school boards and the way school boards operate. I think, you know, I'll call out, I think because of the teachers unions, I think it kind of seems as if it's like an insiders club that doesn't have a lot of parents like Bethany and I. So I commend you, Bethany, you know, like myself, for being that average parent that's just really concerned and wants to get more involved, because that's, if you look nationwide, that's actually a rare rare occurrence for someone like Bethany and I to serve. So like I said, I commend you, Bethany, and yeah, look forward to just working with the superintendent and the superintendent's office.
Great. Okay, thank you, Ian. Bethany, I'll repeat the question for you. An individual school board member has no authority on his own. Only the board as a whole can make decisions for the district. What skills and traits will allow you to contribute to effective operations of the board as a whole?
So I personally believe I collaborate well. It's one of the things that has been cultivated with years of being a PAL. And one of our actual PAL ambassador trainings that we had last year was being the first follower and not necessarily always leading. I think that's a real key skill to have on board, because like you said, it's not just one individual. It's a collective of 5 of us. And hearing everyone out of, what they bring to the table. I myself, I'm not an educator. I don't have a degree or anything like that. But, if I get elected or I'm on the board, and I'm sitting next to Lillian, who's got decades of educational experience, I'm definitely I'm going to lean into her and be like, all right, can you explain this to me like I'm 5 for just a second so I can get like a better understanding of this? And then explain it. And then, working with Doc and, not just Doc, but, Mark, the deputy superintendent, and the entire cabinet, from Lisa, from Mrs. Cornejo, and we work with the ladies in the superintendent office, Lisa and Andrea and Cindy and everything, and just having that open communication and just knowing that I'm a person, I'm a person just like everybody else. I'm here to listen. I'm here to give you my feedback. I'm here to give you my honest feedback. And that's what you're always going to get. And just, we do have to be a unit, agreeing publicly, and then behind closed doors, like, hey, I didn't agree with how that was worded, or, maybe we need to visit this, or, hey, we worked on your project, or something that you brought to the table, last year. Let's revisit, area 3's idea or area 2's idea, or something like that. And just being, BCSD is real big on family. And I think a board is, the heart of that family.
Okay. Thank you so much. Well, I think, in closing, both of you touched upon this last question very nicely, because these school board positions are open for anyone. It's about citizen representation. You don't have to be a technocrat in education to govern. And if you are, that's great. If you are not, that's also great. And for those colleagues that are on the board already, you have that institutional knowledge, you have that expertise of existing board members. But the thing that you two bring is a fresh perspective, new blood, new energy, new ways of looking at things. And so it's these competing interests and the fusions of everyone's background and perspectives and strengths and newness and knowledge and whether you're tenured or whether you're brand new, all of that working together is governance. And so we're all well served by that. So I congratulate you both and good luck to you both. And we got 6 days left. So, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Jeff, for helping us out this evening.
You're welcome.
And good luck to you. Vote Jeff Flores, KHSD.
Thank you.
Full support here.
We'll take a moment to
You're our feeder, so we want to work with you guys. You're our feeder, and we want to have a good relationship.
Very much.
When you succeed, we succeed, and when we both succeed, Kern County succeeds.
That's right. So, and then you're more than welcome to stay with us, Jeff. I don't want to take up any more of your time if you have something you need to do, but if you want to stick around for the conversation, you're more welcome to.
Sure, I'll watch and listen.
Awesome. So, all right. I take a moment, take a breath. I'm just, I'm reminded of something. Ian, we did the video for Channel 23, and we have like hours of takes for that. And my husband and my daughter just talk to him like you're talking to parents, and I'm like, I don't talk to parents like that. Like, it's not me.
Did you guys do a morning show?
Last month, Channel 23 had us all submit like a 1-minute video.
Oh, okay.
You know, you never realize how short 60 seconds is until you need to like cram.
Wait till you do a live morning show and get up at 4.
I've done those, Jeff, on Channel 17. When part of the JDRF, we would go down and talk right before the big walk in November, and I'd drag my daughter along with it. Well, she'd be like, "Come on, Mom, let's go." And I'm like, "All right, hold on, let me get my coffee." And yeah, like ringing the bell at KGET at like 4:30 in the morning. It's like dark and cold outside, so. Cassandra, do you have anything you want to add? You've kind of been sitting here for 45 minutes.
It was entertaining, to say the least. No, I'm glad that I feel like I got to know you guys a little bit better. I don't know if maybe you guys can talk a little bit about our lower populations that aren't as, I guess, up to par as the gen ed. So maybe special ed and English learners, because we do have a high population of those throughout the district and then throughout Area 5 too. So maybe you guys can touch on that a little bit.
So like our sped population, or
well, how you're gonna help and support our English learners, our GATE students, our English, our special ed, because those are kids who we don't want to fall through the cracks, and we've seen it a lot through BCSD where they get left behind, or something happens, or their test scores are very, very low or very, very high. So maybe how we can kind of even those out or support them.
Well, I don't think you're ever going to even them out. I think we need to celebrate excellence, and you're going to have kids that excel, and I don't think that should be taken away. I think in society we have a problem with labels, like I'm a white male property owner engineer, like I have to have label. I can't just be Ian Journey, a valuable human being, and that's a huge problem. That I live my life. I catch myself all the time, passing judgment, oh, that person based on their car, or like different things, but we have to catch ourselves, and awareness is half the battle. So for me, I think the value, I go back to my dad. My dad was a horrible student, just horrible, but he's one of the most successful, one of the hardest working people I know. He's a successful business owner, and that didn't click in until he got out of school. So I think we need to remember that we're holding these kids to a certain standard that, it has merits. I'm all for testing, and we need to track performance, but for our kids that don't perform well in the classroom, there's every opportunity for them to make 6 figures out in the oil fields as an electrician or as a sheet metal worker. And that doesn't, that takes some core math and reading skills. But I work with people all the time that barely graduated high school, and they're out on a job site building the new Kern High School District CTEC building, and they're reading 800 pages of submittals. That's more technical than what I do for a living. That's insane what these guys do, and bringing my dreams to a reality. That's I have nothing but respect. So, I'm blue collar at heart. So I don't think, back to what I was saying about just human value. I don't think labeling our students, you're a bad kid, or you're a troublemaker, or you're this or that. I've learned through my experience with CASA, these labels stick with kids, and we really got to work on our language.
Well, I know. Sorry, Bethany, go ahead.
Well, I think, we have some programs that, definitely help. As you kind of said earlier, all the acts, we have representation in our district. We have stakeholder groups like it is no other. With DAC, with DLAC, which is the District English Learner Advisory Council. We have DAPAC, which is the District African American Advisory Council. We have RAC, which is the Regional Advisory Council. We have PAC, which is the Community Advisory Council that handles all of our special education. We have our GATE. All of our schools, all of our subgroups have representation, and they're very much centered around, just like DAC. They all have the same structures. So they have monthly meetings, and they go over what's working for their students, what's not working for students? How can we help these particular kind of students? You know, we have some of the things that our RAC department does for our migrant students. To be totally honest, I'm a little jealous of, like, can I go? Like, you know, but I mean, just seeing the child for themselves, you know, they're not a test score. We don't teach a test. We teach, you know, being a human being and being a good one. And just, I think that is what it's mattered. Teaching compassion. You know, we have our MTSS crew, we have our McKinney-Vento program, you know, we have our wellness centers. And if you can't get your kid to the doctor's office, a staff member can take them to the wellness center. So that way they're not missing school, you're not missing work, and they're not falling through the cracks because they, you know, they were sick at home. Or we have our social workers and our BISs and our YISs that are going out and doing home visits. You know, we have parents that will call in and be like, I know my son's late. Don't come to my house. He's on his way. You know, because they know that they're going to come nicely, engage in that conversation of, you know, why is Joe not in school?
Yeah. Let me just clarify, because my son does fall in one of those categories. He is, you know, advanced. And I say advanced because I think that all kids are equal. All kids should be and deserve to be treated as equals in our school district. As I said, kind of level the playing fields as equal representation. I think that some kids, you know, they don't have as much representation as they could or they should. That's why I was kind of asking, like, how we can get more parents engaged and then students to have, and versus, you know, just a test score, because some kids don't test well. Maybe they're having a bad day or whatever not. But we need to make sure that we reach out and we have that equity across the board for all students, not just, like I said, not just, you know, general ed, but we need our GATE students to be engaged. Because there's been several times since my son's been in GATE for 5 years or 6 years, that he's been bored, and that shouldn't happen. And that's what I don't like to see.
That's how you end up in
So-
the principal's office. I can attest to that. I think on that, I think, yeah, like just the inclusion to where you have to recognize and we have to celebrate excellence and know that excellence isn't for everyone. That's just a hard fact of life, but we have to focus on inclusion and focus on, like, I think the California dashboard, I think, is great, but I also think there's some risks about when you're just looking at those graphics and they're pretty and they're colorful, and you know, you can have a school that's testing really well and is green, but then you have certain populations that get lost within that that segment. And so you know, I'll go back to my experience with the Kern High School District Energy Academy. And what that is once a month I would go to Independence High School and teach a class to these 4.3 GPA students that knew more than me and were like teaching me, you know, just as much about life. But what I recognize with these students is they might have all the test scores and they're going to UCLA and Stanford, but they lack a lot of like the soft skills and the social skills. And so when I volunteer, you know, we like to think, you know, it was just a weird like aha moment when I realized, like, man, for how intelligent these kids are, you know, they have a lot to, they need a lot of guidance. And so mentorship, I think, is huge. Just from the experience that I've been a mentor, I never really had a mentor growing up other than my parents or, you know, friends and family. But in terms of like a professional, so instead of Chevron donating $500,000 to the district, it might be nice to, hey, maybe they donate $500,000 worth of salary for their employees to go to school sites and talk to kids about what a petroleum engineer is or what a geologist is. And we shouldn't have to wait till the kids are in high school to know what these options are. I'm not saying you have to pick a career in second grade, but I think a child cannot be what they can't see. And I really believe in that.
The only reason, sorry, Bethany, the only reason I said that is because I know that just being in the classroom and seeing it, there's a lot of GATE students who they do have other issues like ADHD, and they suffer from, you know, all kinds of, you name it, and I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes. Kids have meltdowns because they didn't get an answer right. And it's just psychological that happens. And that's why I'm saying they fall within that category of special ed, but also their gate. So I think that's kind of where we need to.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons why the social emotional learning is so important is teaching these coping skills. In the elementary school level, we use toolbox, and that's 12 different ways to calm down, handle your problems. And then in the junior high and middle school, we use second step, and those are just the ones that the district rolls out. I know each school site, they augment theirs with, various different, SEL programs. And, social emotional learning gives the students the opportunity to reflect on their day and where they're at emotionally. But it also helps the teacher kind of gauge, where they're at that day too, because, you could have Cassandra Slane come in and she's a 4.0 student, and, all of a sudden today, she's moody and she's, I'm going to send her up, to the office, or I'm going to, give her a referral, or, whatever. And, SEL gives us the opportunity to, to find out, like dig deeper as to like why there's something there. Our district, our kids come with a lot of trauma, and however that looks, if it's self-imposed trauma, for our GATE students, where, they've built themselves up on this platform of always, getting that A, or, going the step beyond, or, the kids that, and our homeless youth that, they've bounced around 4 different houses in that week. Or they're embarrassed, that they're coming to school the way I can attest to that one personally. Growing up, there was a lot of times I didn't even want to come to school because, mom didn't do laundry, hadn't been taught yet, and, nothing was clean, and I just didn't want to come to school. And I think the wraparound services that we have in the district for that very reason, is one of the things that helps our students. In such a way that gives them tools, gives them life lesson tools.
One thing I'd like to add real quick is I would really like to see as well, how do we get the students that you're talking about, Cassandra, on the spectrum, not autism, but like you have these extreme spectrums of the GATE students, and then the say troubled kids, or the failing students. I think a key that I would love to see, and I don't have an answer for this, but how do we get them to work together? Because I think kids can really learn, in some regards, learn better from one another. And then especially with the way I see my 7-year-old daughter interact with like younger kids, I think that really teaches them a certain special type of empathy that I think you only have like a short window to teach in a human being, like when they're a kid, to like take care of for a 4th grader to take care of a kindergartner. Like, I think that there's something special that I feel there when I see that happen. And so I would like to see that. And I think there's ways that we can bring those, those different populations you speak about, bring them together. I don't think they should be I have a hard time with labels in general. Like, I know we have to have labels in society, but a lot of times I think labels hold us back. And just calling someone a GATE student, we do that. And I was a GATE student. I went to Bessie Owens, loved it, had great memories, but I felt isolated at times looking back. So,
and, working with other students, 2 years ago, my son was like, Wednesday's my favorite day of the week. And I'm like, Wednesday? Friday? Like, no, Wednesday. I'm like, well, Wednesday is so special. I need to know this. And he's like, it's book buddy day. And I'm like, what's a book buddy? And he's like, it's when the kids come from Mrs. Brown's class, who were the 5th graders, come to my kindergarten class. Well, I guess 4 years ago now. Hold on, let me just math real quick. And they would, the 4th grader, the 5th graders would pair up with a kindergarten in Mrs. Mercado's class, and every Wednesday they would bring their book, and they would share, and they would talk and everything. And he's like, I love seeing my book buddy. I love seeing my book buddies so much that Wednesdays are my favorite day of the week. And I'm, you know what? For you to impact my son like that, because he is like squirrel over here, like you have to care, like he has to know that you care, that you genuinely care about him. And I think kids pick up on that, that genuineness, and that sincerity, with their peers and their teachers. One of my son's teachers told me, when discussing teachers coming in, was like, okay, so who do you think is a good fit for Jackson? And she's like, honestly, whichever teacher gets Jackson, they need to realize that he will learn and he will do what you want him to do if he really feels that you care about him. If he feels like you don't care about him, he is going to be in Pokemon, Mario, Diary of a Wimpy. He's going to be in his own other world. And so getting that sincerity out of school. And I think making it, like you said, a hot button issue right now is ethnic studies or cultural studies. And I think that's a key that is being explored and really needs to be explored, because when kids feel relevance to them, it gives them a power that they didn't realize that they had or that they were missing. Our African American students, we celebrate every February, and you can see that those kids, and it's not just the same ones. We don't just study Martin Luther King or like the big ones. We always do something different. This last year it was Black female poets. And every class had to do something about Black female poets. Just making it relevant to kids, making it fun. I know Cassandra's heard me say this, and we say this all the time. Just, you got to make it fun. Kids nowadays, they've got way too many other stimulus in their lives. They want the Switch, they want their phone, they want Fortnite, they want the Xbox, the PlayStation. I mean, you name it. They want it. And unfortunately, education is competing with that. And you really have to make it fun. So
that's where, like, back to what I was talking about, social studies, like there's just so many incredible, I have a hard time reading fiction, to be honest. I tend to go towards nonfiction just because there's so many incredible real life stories of incredible human beings that we can really grasp our children's attention, through social and ethnic studies. And I'm excited that there is a conversation happening, because I know when I went to Cal Poly, I was kind of disappointed, had this realization that why did I have to wait till university to take these religious studies, ethnic studies, female studies classes and learn these stories that I should have learned in 4th grade. And so I want to bring that back to my community and for all even my own children and all other BCSD students.
Ian, I do have a quick question. I know you did say that you've been trying to get on school site council for a couple of years, and I know it's your first year at DAC. How did you feel about the whole reporting back to your school site council and your first school site council meeting? Like, how did that go for you? Were you excited?
Yeah,
big parent engagement. I mean, we live and eat and breathe. I'm very interested on an outsider perspective of how that went for you.
Yeah, I didn't realize, I had no idea. I was, like most things, didn't know what I was getting myself into when I first ran kindergarten, when my daughter was in kindergarten 2 years ago. And so I didn't realize how competitive it was. I didn't campaign, but yeah, no, I just happened to, a lot of my friends, just personal friends, served on the school site council. So I've heard them talk about it for a couple years now. And now, our FACE ambassador, who is one of my favorite people, Miss Klassen, Miss Susie, she reached out, and I was flattered and honored to be nominated for both. But I was nervous, obviously, depending on the outcome of the election. I was warning to everyone that I don't want to be spread too thin. So everyone's been really supportive, and like you said, just the family. I mean, that at the end of the day, everyone is so supportive, and it's I didn't feel like an outsider, even though it's Zoom, for whatever that's worth. But I look forward to one day getting back and meeting face to face with y'all.
I know. I went to Susie cafe last month, and it was just, she is a ball of energy.
Oh man.
I met her the first time at the Loving Solutions classes that were offered a couple years ago at downtown. Like last year, the year before that, my husband and I both took the classes, and that was my first interaction with Susie. And she's a pistol. I love her. And then both of our daughters go to BHS, so I see her every now and then. But yeah, she was just like, "Hey, man, what's up?" She's like, "Why are you my thanks for joining us for my parent cafe." And I'm like, "Just supporting all my faces." Everyone's right now. So, but I do know that we're at time. We're actually over time. I sincerely apologize for we're over about 5 minutes, but we kind of got started a little later since I had the technical hiccup with YouTube. So I just want to thank everybody for their time. And
sorry, really quick.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Ian, was it easy because I know you don't seem like an outgoing person like I am, like a crazy talkative person. Was it easy for you just to, give the synopsis of DAC did you feel comfortable?
Oh yeah. And like I said, it helps that everyone on the school site council, I've known 2 of the 4 people on the council I've known for about 10 years. So it's all about community at the end of the day. And I just, on a in note, I think what I would like to do as a school board member too is, and I know Bethany feels the same way, and we'll do this together, I'm sure, is just build the culture of education within our community and make it a priority and make our schools celebrated and renowned. And we got a long way to go. I'm not naive to that, but we can have a goal and we can shoot for the stars. So I was telling my wife earlier today, like I'm sad that we're running in the same area, because like it'd be so cool if you were in like a different area, and then my dream team would be like me, you, and Dr. Chris Cruz Boone. But that's just like a personal dream team of mine.
What about me?
Well, you're not running, but I hate that we're running against, and I would say if I was not running, Bethany, you would fully have my vote and my support, as compared to our competition. So thank you very much for hosting this. This has been really nice.
And thank you for joining us. I was nervous, Cassandra can attest. I get these kind of wild ideas, and I'm like, will anybody join? And then I was like, well, the first thing I got to do is find a neutral moderator, and just because like I wanted the other 3 candidates to feel comfortable and not like I was bringing in, someone that was going to be biased, because that's not what I wanted to do. So just shooting some things around. I had reached out to some of the news anchors, and somebody had given me the idea to reach out to Jeff, and I was like, let's do it. Let's reach out to Jeff. And
you couldn't have picked a better person. So that was like the best news when you told me that. So
I was like, all right, so step 1, we got a moderator. Let me now reach out to everyone. And I was just sending that email off. I was just like, oh, what if nobody responds? What if nobody wants to do this? But just put it there.
I think it's very telling, just to remind everyone watching, I'm sure everyone knows, but Bethany and I are the only 2 Area 5 candidates with children in the district. So I think that's very telling to her and I being here with you right now. So thanks to everyone for showing up.
All right. Thank you.
I just want to say really quick, don't forget about the Spanish. I do speak Spanish, se habla español, but don't forget about our Spanish speaking families, because they do feel, like they don't get listened to a lot, because we don't have a lot of, people who speak Spanish, so who can relate to them. So just keep that in mind.
If time had permitted, there would have been a whole back and forth translation. But I'm learning. My face liaison Laura and I, she's like, you're learning more Spanish every day. I stumble. I've used some words that I didn't think were bad, but then I found, oh, don't say that in public. I was like, okay, hold on. But yeah.
Well, your flyer was in Spanish, so that was very nice.
Yeah, just trying. That's just from years of being involved. It's not a lot of people know, but it's like a state mandated guideline that that anything that you send home has to be in English and in Spanish. So it's just, that's how my brain works. If I send something out, it's in English and in Spanish. So I was kind of hoping that we would have time. I was trying to figure out a way for like Zoom and the translation, but since we didn't have it all on Zoom because my account can't hold that many people, I'm like, well, that's not going to work. And then So I definitely tried to like activate that part of it, but it just fell through. So I'm hoping that on YouTube there's subtitles. That's my
Well,
hope.
good luck to you both, and thank you, Cassandra, and all of you, and God bless you guys, and we'll watch the returns, and whatever happens, we'll be well served.
And if you guys haven't voted out there in the webverse, vote. Whoever you're voting for, if it's me, if it's Ian, if it's Jeff, wherever you live, just vote.
You can't complain if you don't vote. Like voting, you get the option to complain when you vote. So that's how I look at it.
Just vote.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Bethany. Thank you, Ian. I just want to say you guys were awesome. I appreciate you taking the time. Jeff, it's always a pleasure to see you virtually right now. Thank you. And I just appreciate all of you guys' care and compassion for the kids. That's at the end of the day, it's all about the kids. And I think both of your heads are focused on that. And that's the most important thing right now.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
You guys.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.